You want power? True power. It starts with the one thing everyone else forgets: yourself. Not your possessions, not your status, not your wealth. Your personality. The way you carry yourself, the invisible force that draws people in, commands respect and leaves them too afraid to cross you. But here's the truth: most men don't have it. They walk through life begging for attention, pretending to be something they're not, seeking approval, looking for validation. What they don't realize is that power isn't in being liked, it's in being feared, in being untouchable. When you understand this, when you truly internalize it, the world starts to move differently around you. It bends to your will. People no longer question your decisions, they follow them. So how do you build this? How do you forge a personality so sharp that it cuts through the noise of the world? First, understand this: fear is your weapon. When people fear you, they have no choice but to respect you. And respect is the currency of power. You want to be untouchable? Then you must stop chasing approval, stop living for the likes and the comments. Stop craving validation from others. You are not here to serve anyone else's ego. You're here to dominate. But here's the catch: fear doesn't come from showing your hand. Fear comes from restraint. It comes from knowing exactly how dangerous you are and choosing never to show it unless necessary. You're not the loudest in the room. You don't need to be. Your silence speaks volumes. Your presence alone commands respect. The best way to intimidate others: be so confident in your own power that you don't need to announce it. The art of psychological dominance. Now let's talk about how to control minds without saying a word. The true mark of someone with an untouchable personality is how they dominate in silence. People are drawn to noise, to drama, to chaos because it distracts them. It creates a false sense of power. But the real power? It's in control. Control of your emotions, your actions, your reactions. When people see you, they should see a man who is untamed, not because you throw your weight around, but because you control your own impulses. You move like a chess player, always thinking 2 steps ahead. You never reveal your hand too early. You make others think they know what you're about, while in reality they have no clue. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He knew that the strongest men are the ones who control the minds of others, without them ever realizing it. He didn't want you to act like a tyrant. He wanted you to be a shadow, a phantom, always present but never quite understood. That is how you control others. You move in a way that feels unpredictable, yet every step is calculated. Psychological dominance comes from your ability to make others question themselves. When they can't read you, they can't predict your next move, and when they can't predict you, they fear you. They'll begin to second-guess their every action around you. You'll become a force that can't be contained, and soon, people will be fighting for your attention, trying to decipher you. And while they waste their time, you'll be moving the pieces, controlling the game. This isn't manipulation, it's power in its most refined form. The art of controlling how others perceive you without them even realizing it. So ask yourself this: do they see you as predictable? Or do they see a man whose mind is a fortress? A man who will make them question every move they make, and in doing so paralyze them with fear. What does psychological dominance mean to you? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Control through emotional detachment. If you want to be untouchable, you must first learn how to control your emotions. Emotional vulnerability is a weakness, and weakness is something no one respects. No one fears a man who can't control his reactions. The true power lies in the ability to remain calm, composed, and detached, no matter what happens. The moment you let your emotions take control, you lose your power. Whether it's anger, sadness, or even excitement, these emotions can blind you. They cloud your judgment and make you react impulsively. When you react, you lose the ability to act strategically. You become a slave to your emotions instead of the master. Machiavelli spoke about this constantly. He understood that to control others, you must first control yourself. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you don't feel. No, it means you don't let others see your emotions. You are like a steel wall, immovable and unshaken. When they throw hate, you return it with indifference. When they try to provoke you, you show them nothing but cold, calculated resolve. Emotionally detached men are the most dangerous. They cannot be manipulated because they are immune to emotional triggers. When others try to use your emotions against you, you won't flinch. You won't react, and that is what makes you untouchable. You've removed the strings they could pull to control you. The power of emotional detachment lies in this. It makes you unpredictable. People can't use your weaknesses against you. They can't get inside your head, and that's what they fear most. So, start today. Work on mastering your emotional state. Become the man who is unaffected by the drama, the chaos, the distractions of the world. When they push your buttons, you won't even blink. The power of perception. In this world, perception is reality. What people believe about you is more important than who you really are. How others perceive you defines how they treat you. And if you can control that perception, you control them. This is the secret to becoming untouchable. Master the art of perception. The first step to mastering perception is understanding this fundamental truth. The world doesn't see you as you are. The world sees you as they believe you to be. It doesn't matter if you're the most skilled, intelligent, or capable person in the room. What matters is how others interpret your actions, your presence, and your words. You can be a genius, but if people perceive you as weak, you will be treated as such. And when you are seen as weak, you are open to manipulation, attack, and exploitation. The untouchable person, on the other hand, is constantly aware of the narrative others are creating about them. They understand the subtle dance of impressions. They don't leave anything to chance. Every gesture, every word, every movement is carefully calculated to reinforce the image they want to project. They become the person others fear, admire, and respect because they have controlled the perception of who they are. Control the narrative. That's the first rule of mastering perception. The moment you lose control over how people perceive you, you give away your power. To stay untouchable, you must manage your image at all times. Your body language, the way you speak, the way you dress, and even the way you listen. All of these things contribute to the way others form their image of you. And if you want to be untouchable, that image must be one of someone who is dangerous, calculated, and completely in control. Think about the greatest rulers throughout history, the ones who were untouchable. It wasn't their actions that made them powerful, it was the perception others had of them. Take a look at the way Machiavelli speaks about the art of ruling. He understood that perception often outweighed action. A ruler who was feared, respected, and admired didn't need to prove his strength constantly. His mere presence created an aura of power. People obeyed him not because he was physically the strongest, but because they feared the consequences of crossing him. They feared what he could do, not because they had seen it, but because they believed he was capable of it. Now, you may be asking yourself, how do I create this perception? How do I make sure the world sees me as untouchable? First, start with your appearance. How do you present yourself to the world? When you walk into a room, do you enter as if you belong there? Or do you slink in, unsure, hoping someone will notice you? You must carry yourself with the confidence of someone who is already in control. Your posture should reflect strength and authority. Hold your head high, your shoulders back. Walk with purpose, not hesitation. The way you move speaks volumes about how others will perceive you. If you walk into a room with uncertainty, others will see you as uncertain. But if you move with purpose, you will command attention. Second, master the art of speech. When you speak, speak with intention. Don't waste your words on meaningless chatter. Every word should count. The untouchable person knows that words have power, but only when used sparingly. People respect those who speak less but say more. When you speak, people listen because they know you won't waste their time. And when you choose to speak, your words must carry weight. Speak with authority, not with the need to explain yourself. When you talk, let it be clear that you have nothing to prove. The third element of mastering perception is to control how you make others feel. People will forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And you, my friend, must make people feel that they are in the presence of someone who is untouchable. You must make them feel small, insignificant, in awe of your presence. The key to this is confidence. Confidence is magnetic. It attracts people to you and it pushes them away. Confidence can be the key to dominance, but only if you use it in the right way. You don't want to appear arrogant. Arrogance is a sign of insecurity, a desperate attempt to mask fear. True confidence is quiet. It doesn't need to be loud to be noticed. When you exude quiet confidence, people will naturally gravitate toward you. They will look up to you, admire you, and fear you. The final piece of the perception puzzle is mystery. Never let the world see all of you. Keep parts of yourself hidden. Leave them wondering. People are drawn to the unknown, to the mysterious. When they can't figure you out, they fear what they don't understand. This fear will make them treat you with more respect because they don't know if you are capable of something dangerous. When you give away too much, you become predictable, and when people can predict you, they can control you. But when they can't figure you out, they'll be too scared to try. In summary, perception is everything. The untouchable person is someone who has mastered the art of creating and maintaining an image that others can't resist. They control how the world sees them, and in doing so, they control the world. They are feared, respected, and admired because they have created an aura of power that no one can penetrate. When you master perception, you can manipulate how others treat you, how they approach you, and even how they fear you. The power of self-sufficiency. If you want to be untouchable, you must first realize one undeniable truth. You are your own foundation. Most people walk through life depending on others for validation, support, or comfort. They rely on their friends, their family, their status, their possessions to feel secure. But the moment you depend on anyone or anything other than yourself, you become weak, vulnerable, exposed. You cannot be untouchable if you're constantly reaching out for someone else's hand. True power comes when you can stand alone, self-sufficient, unshakable, and self-reliant. No one can break you when you don't need anyone to build you up. When you can rely on yourself, you're already miles ahead of the masses. Machiavelli understood this principle better than anyone. He knew that the greatest rulers were the ones who could navigate the world without needing anyone else's approval. They didn't rely on allies to survive. They were prepared to stand alone, even against the world. They were constantly moving, planning, working, thinking, and executing without waiting for someone to pat them on the back or offer a helping hand. They didn't need anyone's support because they already had everything they needed within themselves. Self-sufficiency means cultivating a mindset where you never seek anything outside of yourself for your worth. Your value doesn't come from others, from your possessions, or from your accomplishments. It comes from the very essence of who you are. It means you have the ability to thrive, not just survive, on your own terms. It means that you've already prepared for any obstacle that may come your way, mentally, emotionally, and physically. You see, when you rely on others, you're at their mercy. You're vulnerable. But when you rely on yourself, you don't answer to anyone. You make the rules. You set the boundaries. No one can tell you what to do, because you already know exactly what you're doing. This is the secret to true power. It's not about what you have or who's around you. It's about what you can do when you're by yourself. So, how do you build this self-sufficiency? Start by looking inward. Cultivate your skills, your mindset, and your resilience. Don't depend on others for your success. Don't wait for anyone to tell you you're ready. You are already ready. The journey to self-sufficiency is long, but it's one you must take. Work on being your own pillar. Learn how to solve your problems without help. Build your mind into something that can endure pain, loss, and failure. When you start to depend on no one but yourself, you will feel a shift. The world around you will lose its grip. People will no longer have the power to make or break your day. You won't be swayed by external opinions, by distractions, or by failures. You will be the one who decides what happens next. And that, my friend, is the definition of power. The more you cultivate self-sufficiency, the stronger you become. Keep building your foundation, and soon you'll realize no one can touch you. The unseen strategy of patience. You've heard the old adage, patience is a virtue, but what you don't hear often enough is that patience is one of the most dangerous weapons you can possess. Most people move quickly. They rush through life, always chasing the next high, the next achievement, the next fleeting moment of satisfaction. But the truly powerful, the untouchable ones, move in silence, in stillness, in patience. They don't need to act on impulse. They understand that real power lies in the ability to wait for the right moment. When you have patience, you hold all the cards. You're not in a rush. You're playing the long game, and everyone else? They're running around, acting hastily, and revealing their cards too early. Patience is the ability to control the tempo of your life. It's knowing that you don't need to chase after every opportunity that comes your way. The greatest opportunities? They don't need to be chased. They come to you when you've prepared the ground for them. It's the art of waiting for the right moment to strike while everyone else is scrambling for quick, shallow victories. Machiavelli understood this principle well. He knew that the strongest rulers didn't act recklessly. They bided their time, they watched their enemies, learned their weaknesses, and then struck when the time was right. They knew that rushing into action without thinking ahead was the hallmark of a weak, impulsive mind. But those who could be patient, who could hold their ground and wait for the perfect opportunity, were the ones who truly controlled the game. Patience isn't about passivity, it's about active waiting. It's about controlling your impulses and not being swayed by the whims of the moment. It's about knowing that real power doesn't come from acting fast, it comes from acting with precision. It's about having the discipline to wait until everything aligns in your favor, and then moving decisively, knowing that the world will bend to your will. So, if you want to be untouchable, you must learn patience. You must learn to sit still, observe, and wait for the right moment to act. You must resist the urge to rush. Let others burn themselves out in their haste. Let them act impulsively. You, however, will remain calm, composed, and in full control. The mastery of emotional resilience. If you want to be untouchable, you must first understand that emotional resilience is the cornerstone of true power. Life will throw everything at you: betrayal, hardship, pain, loss. Most people crumble under these pressures. They break. They become victims of their circumstances. But the untouchable man? He rises above it all, unshaken, unbroken. His emotional resilience is what makes him untouchable. Life is chaotic, and it's easy to get lost in the turmoil. It's easy to let your emotions control you: anger, sadness, frustration, or even joy. Most people live in a constant state of emotional turbulence, reacting to everything that comes their way, and because of this, they lose control. Their emotions dictate their lives, their actions, their decisions. But here's the truth. When your emotions control you, you give away your power. You become a slave to your feelings. The untouchable person understands this. He knows that in order to maintain his power, he must control his emotions. He is emotionally resilient, not because he feels no pain, but because he chooses how to respond to it. Pain is inevitable. Life will challenge you. People will betray you. Situations will break your heart. But how you respond is entirely in your hands. Machiavelli, in his wisdom, taught that power comes not from what happens to you, but from how you react to what happens. When you're emotionally resilient, you don't react impulsively. You don't lash out in anger, you don't retreat in fear, and you don't wallow in self-pity. Instead, you analyze the situation, keep your emotions in check, and then move forward, calmly, strategically, and with purpose. This is where true strength lies, in your ability to withstand emotional storms without letting them affect your judgment. Emotional resilience is the ability to stand firm, no matter how intense the pressure becomes. It's about not allowing the world to dictate your emotional state. It's about remaining calm under fire, unshaken by external chaos. When you are emotionally resilient, you are like a rock, unmovable, unyielding. Now, you may wonder, how do you develop this emotional resilience? The first step is to stop identifying with your emotions. Most people believe that they are their emotions. They think, I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm frustrated. But the truth is, your emotions are just that, emotions. They come and go. They are temporary states of being. You are not your emotions, and when you stop identifying with them, you stop allowing them to control you. The next step is to build emotional awareness. You must become aware of your emotional triggers. What sets you off? What makes you happy? What makes you fearful? By understanding your emotional patterns, you can learn how to respond to them instead of reacting to them. When you are emotionally aware, you can make decisions based on logic, strategy, and control, not impulsive feelings. You become the master of your emotions, not their slave. Resilience also comes from embracing discomfort. Life is full of pain, no one escapes it. But most people run from discomfort. They avoid it, numb it, or try to escape it. But the untouchable person knows that discomfort is not something to be feared. It is something to be embraced. He knows that in order to grow, to become stronger, he must face hardship head-on. When you embrace discomfort, you stop being afraid of it. You stop letting it control you. Instead, you use it as fuel to build your emotional resilience. One of the most powerful things you can do for emotional resilience is to detach from outcomes. Most people are emotionally invested in the results of their efforts. They want validation, they want success, they want acknowledgement. But the untouchable man is not emotionally invested in the outcome. He invests in the process. He knows that the only thing he can control is his actions and how he reacts. He doesn't waste energy worrying about results. He simply does the work, knowing that the process itself is what matters. In this way, emotional resilience is tied to mental discipline. You must train your mind to withstand emotional pressure, to stay focused on your goals, and to remain calm when everyone else is losing their heads. It's about developing an inner strength that cannot be shaken by external forces. The untouchable man doesn't wait for life to get easier. He makes himself stronger, more capable, and more prepared for the storms that will inevitably come. In time, you'll notice something profound happening. When you become emotionally resilient, people start to view you differently. They begin to respect you more. They see your calm, unwavering presence and recognize it as a sign of strength. You no longer need to prove yourself. Your emotional resilience does the talking for you. In summary, emotional resilience is not about being immune to pain or difficulty. It's about choosing how to respond. It's about being unshaken by external forces. It's about controlling your emotions, not letting them control you. The untouchable person is not perfect. He is simply unmovable. He remains calm in the face of adversity, strong in the face of fear, and unwavering in the face of betrayal. And this is what makes him truly untouchable. The power of strategic withdrawal. One of the most powerful strategies you can ever master in becoming untouchable is strategic withdrawal. When to step back, when to fade into the background, and when to disappear entirely. Most people don't understand this. They think power is all about always being present, always being at the forefront, always pushing for attention. They burn out in the process. They overextend themselves, and in doing so, they lose their value. But you understand that sometimes the most powerful move is to disappear when they least expect it. Strategic withdrawal is the art of creating absence, and in absence you gain control. It's the power of showing up when it matters most, and being nowhere when it's unnecessary. Think about the greatest figures in history, those who truly ruled without being present every day. They were not always in the room, not always in the spotlight, but their influence remained undeniable. People feared what they could do, not because they were always around, but because they knew when the time came, they would return with force. This isn't about being a ghost, nor is it about hiding. It's about making sure your presence only matters when it must. When you're always around, always accessible, always available, you lose your value. You make yourself predictable. You make yourself dispensable. The untouchable person knows that their worth is not in their presence, but in the strength of their absence. Think of Machiavelli's principle of divide and conquer. Sometimes you must create distance between yourself and others to gain leverage. This is psychological warfare. When you step back, when you withdraw, you force others to fill in the gaps. They begin to wonder where you've gone, what you're up to, and more importantly, what might happen if you decide to return. The fear of your absence grows, and when you choose to reappear, the impact is far greater than if you'd stayed around all along. It's all about timing. The master of strategic withdrawal knows exactly when to enter and when to exit. This could mean disappearing from a social event for weeks or even months, pulling away from a situation that doesn't serve you, or even retreating from a battle to return with a more refined strategy. Your withdrawal should be calculated and precise. It must never feel like weakness or fear. It should feel like control. The true power in withdrawal is in the psychological effect it has on others. When you disappear, others start to fill in the blanks. Their minds will fill the space you've left behind with stories, assumptions, and fear. They'll wonder if you've abandoned them or if you've gone to plot your next move. This uncertainty? It's more powerful than any speech, any demonstration of force, any act of aggression. It creates a psychological presence without physical action. People begin to treat you with more respect because they don't know when or how you'll return. They only know that when you do, things will change. Now, don't mistake this for running away from problems or avoiding confrontations. Strategic withdrawal isn't about cowardice. It's about choosing the right battles. You must know when to stand firm and when to back away. Sometimes, the best way to win is to retreat temporarily, gather your strength, and return with even greater force. The most dangerous people are the ones who know how to be present at the right moments and absent when their presence would be wasted. It's a subtle art of control. You force others to react to your absence. You control the space you take up, and when you choose to re-enter, you do so on your terms. And when you do return, you'll come back stronger, more prepared, and more feared than before. This is how you maintain power without exhausting yourself. It's the art of making your presence so rare and valuable that when you re-emerge, it's a game changer. Another aspect of strategic withdrawal is the elusive nature it gives you. The more unpredictable your movements, the more people fear you. They can't control what they can't predict. This is the core of the Machiavellian mindset. It's never about being everywhere, doing everything. It's about moving with precision. If you're always at the center of things, people will take you for granted. They'll grow used to you, and they'll begin to believe they know your every move. When you step back, you shatter their assumptions. You leave them questioning. They don't know what you're thinking, what you're planning, or when you'll strike again. Strategic withdrawal is a tool for psychological control. It elevates your status by removing you from unnecessary situations. You don't have to fight every battle. You don't have to prove yourself all the time. When you step back, you retain control. You understand that no one can touch you if they don't even know where you stand or where you're going next. In a world where everyone is fighting for attention, the most powerful man is the one who doesn't need to be seen. Remember, power isn't given, it's earned. Keep sharpening your mind and building your untouchable persona. Subscribe the channel, like the video, and turn on notifications to never miss another lesson on how to dominate the game.